I'm Michael Rayner. I'm the senior partner of Cox Architects in Queensland, part of a national practice called Cox Architecture, and I've worked out that I've been here now for 35 years. I always hope there's something bigger, but I don't think there's one thing that I'd say is the highlight. And I really perhaps once used to think, if I could design a building and it was everything I ever wanted it to be, that would be the biggest achievement, because most designs get compromised as they go through. But in reality, I think there's kind of many highlights, and a lot of them are serendipitous. So if you took Griffith, discovering while we were master planning for Nathan, some researchers doing solar hydrogen technology, paying attention to that, and then being able to incorporate it in a building on that campus, and the whole building and its design responds to that technology. That's one real highlight. I don't think I've had one thing that I could say is the most challenging thing, but I think if I look back on it, I think it's developing a moral compass about what you do and sticking to it, because our profession, architecture, many other professions, we get pulled in many directions, but you have to develop some kind of ethos, I think, which guides you through all of that process, so you don't start doing things that you perhaps shouldn't do, or that you'll regret doing. So really the biggest challenge is kind of staying on course, while of course the world is changing dramatically and your responses have to change dramatically as it does. I chair the Griffith Architecture Advisory Board, and I'm also an adjunct professor. It's a very interesting school because it's very environmentally related, and that differentiates it from the other schools of architecture, and it's within the Faculty of Environment. So I think that's very significant. It can look at climate change and a whole lot of things that perhaps the other schools do, but not with the same focus. My role is really to try and engage industry with the school. And I think that's increasingly important. It's wrong to think of architectural practices as we practice, and somehow schools of architecture think, practices think too. So you need to put the two together, and there are many ways to do that. Well, actually what is different in practice is that we, the practices, are now researching ourselves. So it used to be you might go to a university for research. We actually do our own research, and you'll find medium to large practices have bodies within them that are purely research groups. So we need to be able to firstly bring the research that we're doing to the university, just as we might want the research from the university brought to us. So that makes it a very different kind of ball game than it used to be. Secondly, I think that coursework in, say, our profession, perhaps if you went through historically, you might have been exposed to 5 tutors and 4 lecturers or something, and they might be the best in the world, but it's only 9 people. I really think that you need to have people like myself and others coming to the university and being integral parts of courses, so the inputs are much broader. The problem is we don't know what's going to drive the future. You commonly get surprises. It's how quick you can respond to those is important. We do a fair amount of research. We do actually research with universities and have various arrangements with universities to try and preempt directions that are happening and be prepared with different responses. As I said, of course, something can radically change in time. I mentioned a minute ago the potential that a building that might have lasted for 50 years may only last for 15 if it's not adaptable to the future. If it is adaptable to the future, we might get 50 years out of it. We still need to work for now to an extent, and so now and future are two kind of different things. But I do think there are enough issues and challenges around that you do need to think, what do people need now? And because if you don't do that, you'll start to do things that are kind of just not firm in their response. All I'm saying is at the same time we are researching other potential models so that we can contribute to that debate, because the worst thing for an architect perhaps is to sort of be caught on the hop and then be told by someone who may not know what they're really doing, this is what I want you to do. So it's only through research knowledge, and that's why I mentioned the contact between universities and private industry is really important. is to have a kind of enough awareness of different models that when an issue comes up, you can grab at something and say, how about this approach? That's just vital, I think, these days, and makes architecture a very stimulating industry because all the answers aren't known. I kind of wouldn't like to work in a profession where all the answers were obvious. So it makes it a wonderful profession.